Hi, I'm Sam Parker. July 4th is just around the corner, and that's the day when the U.S. Army is going to release America's Army Operations. It's a free game, it's a tactical shooter, and it was just announced a couple months ago. So we haven't hardly known anything about it, but we recently had a chance to play an early beta of the game. It's going to be released this week, so it's practically done. And there's quite a bit that's new and exciting about it. I was actually pretty skeptical about the game when I heard about it at E3. It's a free game paid for entirely by the US government, the tune of $7 million for the Operations game, which is the shooter, and a separate game called Soldiers, which is a little bit more like an RPG. And so, I mean, it's very clearly a recruiting tool that the US Army hopes will reach a generation of young people that are more familiar, more comfortable playing games than out playing sports or, just generally thinking about enlisting in the Army. So it's very, very specifically, very openly aimed with, recruiting in mind. But actually playing the game changed my mind a little bit. And the premise might be, a little controversial, but the fact is the game itself does some really interesting things in terms of matching the appeal of a Counter-Strike and also the price of a Counter-Strike. It's free. Counter-Strike's popularity in part was due to the fact that it's a Half-Life mod that once you had Half-Life, you could go ahead and play Counter-Strike for as many years as you got, enjoyment out of it. And it's now a 4-year-old game, so plenty of people have, been playing it for quite some time. America's Army uses the latest version of the Unreal Engine, which will debut with Unreal Tournament 2003, scheduled for release later this summer. It actually is a very high polygon, very high detail engine, and at, say, 1280, a high resolution of 1280 by 1024, the view distance is very far and very detailed, which adapts itself very well to tactical missions that take place outdoors. I've been running it on a high-end system, but we've also seen it on some lower-end systems, and it handles itself quite well. Some of the interior environments where there are a lot of handrails and multi-level environments are actually, quite interesting. They're naturally, the missions that we've seen so far are based on real-world scenarios. Often, many of these are actually U.S. Army training areas. So there are actually 10 missions in the game that's going to be released this week. The version is called Recon. It's actually something like a demo. There are 10 missions, 6 of which are multiplayer and 4 of which are a single-player training session that you have to go through before you get online at all. That training session's actually set up like basic training. You'll hear drill sergeants yelling at you. I mean, there really is quite a bit of realism to the experience. And then you can jump online. There's actually a verification system in place such that you have to register with a master server that tracks your access through the various training levels. One of the interesting things about this system is that certainly, it will allow new players new to the genre, to become accustomed to some of the conventions, but also it locks access to some of the better weapons and what have you in such a way that there's some sense of progression. It's not just that you get the game and you can play any of the levels. So I think there will be a sense, at least early on after the game's release, that players that are more experienced will have more maps available to them. The realism of the game is one of its central points. There's a lot to do with the realism of the guns in terms of having to clear jams, having very detailed reload animations, where, for example, with the SAW, which is a 5.66 millimeter automatic weapon, you actually open the breech and install the belt magazine. It's extraordinarily detailed, and you can actually pull down the tripod when you're prone. They're standing, prone, crouching modes. There's a sprint mode where you drop your gun and you actually see other people that are running around, moving, with these animations quite smoothly. The graphics dovetail well. There are a variety of other secondary weapons, flashbangs, smoke grenades, and frag grenades. Smoke grenades look quite good with the Unreal particle effect system. We've been playing the closed beta for this last week and have only had limited experience with playing multiplayer servers with other people just because of the number of participants. So we haven't had a good sense of how the game will play once it's out in the wild. But already, it is quite promising. There, might be a few issues to clear out, and the development team has released a series of point releases to the beta. So clearly, they're pretty on top of things. It'll be interesting to see what happens over the course of the summer. Once the first 10 missions are released on the internet, then the Army, which has been supplemented by an EA team for this development, plans to release new missions and then a CD set through recruitment offices and a few other venues. So it's coming out this summer with more to come.